This is the last section that we are doing in chapter 2. So this is distance and midpoint formulas, and then also formulas for circles. So here are the objectives. We're going to use the distance formula, the midpoint formula, and then look at the equation for a circle and find the center of the circle and the radius when we're given an equation, and then convert from one form to another for the equation of the circle. So here's our distance formula. You've learned this, well, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, and probably seen it again in pre-cal. So you subtract your x's, square it, subtract your y's, square it, add those together, and then take the square root. So we have an example. So something I always suggest is label your x1, y1, x2, y2. And that way it makes it easier to put into the formula. So you find the difference between your x's and y's, square them, add them, take square root. So 2 minus a negative 1 squared plus 3 minus a negative 3 squared. Get rid of that minus and negative. And then we have 2 plus 1 is 3 squared, plus 3 plus 3 is 6 squared. 3 squared is 9, 6 squared is 36. Add them together, we get 45. And then we want to simplify the radical. So we need to find a perfect square divisor of 45. Be 9, so 9 times 5. Square root of 9 is 3, so it's 3 square root of 5. So it says find the simplified radical form and then round to 2 decimal places. So square root of 45 so it'd be 6.71. So we have the exact and the approximate answers. So that is our distance. Would it? It could. Yeah, you could be. Same thing that I did, just yeah. The way back in 8th grade, y'all had to do this, square root of 45, and say, I know it's between 6 and 7, because square root of 36 is 6, square root of 49 is 7. So it is closer to the 7, so 6.8 is probably what, or 6.75 is what I would kind of guesstimate. But you don't have to do that since we can use our calculator. You're going to just
that's a good trick for me.
All right, let's do the distance if we have, look at our points here. So let's say your points have radicals in them. You can still find the distance using the same formula. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So we use the formula. We need to add our x's. So this would be square root of 13 plus 0 squared plus 0 minus a negative square root of 7 squared. So then that's square root of 13 squared plus, square root of 7 squared. So we have 13 plus 7. Squared and square roots cancel each other. So we have square root of 13 plus 7, which is square root of 20. We need to write this in simplified radical form. So we need to look for a perfect square that goes into 20. Yeah. So 5 times 4, square root of 4 is 2. 2 square roots of 5 is the exact answer. And then we also need the approximate. So 4.47. Okay, that is the distance formula. Let's go to the midpoint. So this is to find the distance or the middle between 2 points that are graphed on a grid. So we want to find what's directly in the middle. So we're basically finding the average of the x's, the average of the y's, and then you write it as a coordinate. So we are going to use our formula here on this example. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So to find the midpoint, we add our x's, divide by 2 for the x value. So 1 plus 7 divided by 2. And then our y is 2 plus a negative 3 divided by 2. 1 plus 7 is 8 over 2. 2 plus a negative 3 is negative 1 over 2. Which 8 divided by 2 is 4. So it's 4 and then negative half. That is our midpoint between those 2 points. Okay, let's look at when we have radicals as the points and we're still asked to find our midpoint. We are going to label x1, y1. So we need to add our x's, so square root of 50 plus square root of 2 over 2. And then 8 plus 0. Seriously. So you can add your radicals together. Then in order to do anything with this divided by 2, we can't do 52 divided by 2 because they're not both under radicals. So we have to simplify the square root of 52, find a perfect square that divides it. And so that would be 4 times 13. And so this one, 8 divided by 2 is just 4. So I'm going to go ahead and take this radical, and that was 4 times 13, which would be 2, and then, square root of 13 there. So that's what's going to go right here. So we have 2 square root of 13 over 2, and then 4. And then you have a 2 over 2, which equals 1, so we're able to mark those out. And we're just left with square root of 13 and 4. So that is our midpoint. Okay, we can graph circles in our coordinate grid. The standard form for circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. where you have R as your radius and your center is HK. And then this is your R. So when you graph it, you can plot the center and then go up however many units for your radius, left and right, and then down, and then you're able to make your circle. So we're going to do that when we're graphing on the next page. So let's write the equation in standard form of an equation of the circle with center 0, 0 and radius of 3. So we're going to use this formula, x minus h plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So 0 is h and 0 is k. So it's centered about the origin. So it's going to be x minus whatever h is, 0 squared, plus y minus 0 squared equals 3 squared. So the zeros don't make any difference. So we're just left with x squared plus y squared equals 3 squared, which is 9. That's the equation of the circle that has a center of 0, 0 and a radius of 3. So anytime it doesn't have a plus or minus with that x, you know that the origin is your center. That's the basic form. Write the standard form when you have a center of -4, 3 and a radius of 5. So our h is -3 and our k, or -4, and our k is 3. So we'll do x minus h. So x minus a -4 squared plus y minus k, so y minus 3 squared equals radius squared. Minus a negative will become plus. So it's x plus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 25. Okay, let's look at the next one. Let's say the center is 1, -4, and our radius is exactly square root of 6. So let's identify our h and our k. Then plug it in. So it's x minus h, so x minus 1 squared, plus y minus k, so -5 squared, equals our radius squared. Right, the square root and square root cancel, leaving us with just 6. And then the only thing that changes here is that's y plus 5. So it's x minus 1 squared plus y plus 5 squared. Okay, so we have the equation x squared plus y squared equals 16. So whenever it's written like this, do y'all remember what the center is? Yeah, so center is 0, 0. So plot that point. And then what's the radius? 4, yeah. Because you take the square root of that, and that gives you your radius. So I'm going to go 4 to every single side. Like that. And then I'm going to try my best to draw it. Not great, but it's okay. At least it doesn't look like a square. So then let's look at our domain. We're going to write our domain and range in interval form. So domain is how far left, how far right. So this would be -4 to +4. And since it actually touches it, we're going to put brackets around it for our domain. Then our range, we go all the way down to -4, and it goes up to +4. And those points are included in the circle, so we're going to put a bracket around it. Let's look at the next one. X plus 3 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 4. So remember our formula is HK. Yep. So yeah, -3 is our H, K is 1. So that's our center. Then our radius is 2, because you take the square root of what's there, and we get radius equals 2. So once we have the information, we can go ahead and graph it. So -3, +1 is our center. So in all directions, we go 2 units. Then we do our best to make a circle and not a square. Looks like a pumpkin. And then we can do our domain and range. So we want to know how far left will it go? -5. And then how far right? -1. And those are both included. So we'll put a bracket around them. And then range, how far down and how far up. Okay, when we're given the general form, so the general form has x squared plus y squared, and then we have something x plus something y plus some kind of constant equals 0. We're going to convert this to the standard form using completing the square. So remember, whatever you do to one side on completing the square, you have to do to the other to keep it balanced. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to set it up where your x and y are together. I mean, your x's are together and your y's are together, and then move the constant to that other side. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides so that I can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do x squared and then plus 4x. And since I'm doing completing the square, I'm going to leave a blank here. And then plus y squared minus 4y, and then another blank, equals 1, because I put that one over there. So now to remember how to do completing the square. We divide this by 2 and then square it. So 2 plus 2 gives us 4. 2 times 2 gives us 4. Or 4 divided by 2. Square it. 2 squared is 4. So plus 4. So for this, it's going to be x plus 2 squared. But remember, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I need to add 4 over here. Okay, so now I need to do the y's. I'm going to divide this by 2 and square it. Yeah, it's 4 again. So plus 4. So I have to do that over here too. So this right here comes down and it's x minus 2 squared. Oh, plus, whoops. And then it equals 4 plus 4 plus 1, which is 9. Oh, that's a y. Sorry. So I'm going to rewrite it here so it looks better. So then we have h and k. So it's supposed to be x minus h, y minus k. So that means my center is negative 2, positive 2. So then what's our radius? Yep. Square root of 9, which is 3. Yes. So now we can graph it. So negative 2, positive 2 is our center. And we need to go 3 units in all directions. And then make your circle. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to try this one on your own before y'all start your assignment. Okay, so I kind of got it started for you right there. Yeah.
Good, right?
That's how good that was.
That was really bad. That's good.
Hey, this is I'm good at drawing circles. I don't know here,
Okay, so let's go over real quick. So I make sure that you all have it. So you would do that middle term divided by 2 and then square it, which gives us plus 1. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And this would be x plus 1 squared. And then over here, 4 divided by 2 squared, which gives us 4, so plus 4. So plus 4 here. This term is a 2, so that is what the y plus 2 squared is. And then you have a negative 4 and a positive 4. Cancels out, gives us 1. So whenever we do the center, it's supposed to be x minus h. So it's always the opposite. Okay. So this would be a negative 1, negative 2. Square root of 1 is 1, so radius is 1. So you graph it, negative 1, negative 2. 1 unit in all directions. It's a really cute little circle. Best circle yet. Your assignment is on Pearson.